Each time a unused season of Dark Reflect drops, there's a dialogue of which scenes are the great ones. Portion of the reason this appear is so subjective is that everybody is seeking out for something diverse when they observe it. To me, Joan is Awful is as well wacky for this appear, whereas Beyond the Sea is as well bleak, but both of those scenes have their fans. Like Loch Henry, Demon 79 regularly subverts the anticipated rough showdowns. The Keith kill scene, and the scene of Nita cutting his ordinary brother Chris as it were minutes afterward, are suspenseful not since we think Nita might kick the bucket, or indeed since the lives of billions are at stake. The pressure comes from observing Nita hook with what she's doing. What's most at stake is her soul. As GAAP focuses out, she's the perfect individual for this work, and, on a meta level, the perfect character for this story, since she's broadly a good person, whereas still being corruptible. Like most of us, there's a dull force inside her, holding up to be brought out within the right circumstances. Shockingly, it turns out Keith doesn't number for human sacrifice purposes, since he has as of now murdered somebody himself. But at work the another day, there are bounty of alternatives, not as it were the abhorrent Vicky or Mr. Duncan, but Michael Shrewd, who employments Mr. Duncan's cabin on the weekends. The more Nita learns around him, the more he appears just like the right individual to give up. As GAAP reluctantly appears her, Shrewd will afterward go on to dispatch an unused far-right party centered on criminalizing migration, developing to revolutionary levels, and getting to be prime serve. GAAP doesn't need Nita to murder Keen, given the man's ubiquity with the other devils, but he actually works as a give-up since his activities have as it were by implication slaughtered individuals. All through the scene, we get brief impressions of the police examination into Nita's murders, driven by Len Fisher, Sean Dooley. But Brooker and Bisha K. Ali's script never floats too far from Nita, and the scene when she and Len at last come together is one of the foremost fulfilling. He's sympathetic, hearing that recently was her late mother's birthday, but it doesn't reduce his doubts, particularly when Nita imagines she doesn't recognize Keith. So afterward that night, he follows Nita whereas she takes after Keen after his huge town hall discourse. Here, we see how much Nita has changed fair within the past couple of days. She's wearing the striking model furnish she never thought she might drag off, and she's forceful in her strategies, rear-ending Keen sometime recently running him off the street into a tree. Seeing he's still lively, she doesn't waver to come at him with a pound, hitting him twice, but Len gets there sometime recently she can take the murdering shot, and she fair can't legitimize slaughtering Len when she knows he's a great man. Like Dexter Morgan, Barry Berkman, and numerous of TV Sother deadly anti-heroes, Nita legitimizes harming individuals with a code, she as it were murders terrible individuals. Amusingly, that run the show is what closes up slaughtering billions within the end. For the complete scene, we've been driven to consider the plausibility that GAAP is all in Nita's head, particularly since individuals called her mother mad as well. So I found it a tremendous help that, eventually, Brooker and Ali do go through with the finishing they guaranteed. Nita is abnormally vindicated. After the police listen her mind-boggling story at the station and the clock strikes midnight, they see out the window to see that the atomic holocaust is formally upon them. In Nita's last minutes on soil, she reunites with GAAP, who welcomes her to connect him as a human companion in unceasing insensibility. It makes for a perfectly black, reflect, happy finishing. Like most of the most excellent scenes, Demon 79 is maintained by the characters. Nita is effortlessly the foremost compelling hero of the season, and Vasan and Isidu's awesome chemistry diverts from the potential cliches of their energetic. But, as I specified sometime recently, it's too about the tone. Usually a ridiculous scene almost evil spirits, region that this appear has never touched sometime recently, but it feels of a chunk with past seasons. Looking back at season 6, it feels like Charlie Brooker set out to do something modern this time, to open up the appear to investigating new genres and tones. 4 of these 5 scenes were set within the past or display,